Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 13 Moons initiation, our introduction call for the next cycle that begins on January 6th. I am Monique Gruffin, and I am one of the facilitators here at 13 Moons. This cycle, we're going to be focusing on grief, the key to your new creation. So let's just have a little bit of silence. I'll pray us in so that we can open the space up with intention and a willingness to be, to move into the grief and allow it to move us into a new way of being. So, how good it is to be in this moment right here, right now. How good it is to breathe in the breath of life, to allow the power that is the rejuvenative force of breath, of consciousness, of love, to be within and without, to know that right where we are, there is something magnificent unfolding at every moment. So even in grief, there is a willingness to allow, to trust, to be, to know that we are in a continual evolutionary experience of becoming ourselves, and that everything counts. Every experience has value. Everything serves to further. So I just give thanks for this opportunity to step more powerfully into a new moon cycle. I give thanks for each and every person who is here within on this experience, on this call, or within the sound of my voice. I give thanks for Cheryl and Christine, trusting and knowing that the dedication and the devotion that they show up with is absolutely in alignment with the perfection of all that is. And so for this, I let it be, and I say, and so it is. Okay.
So it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So let me just do an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. We titled this call "Grief: The Key to Your Next Creation," and we're going to talk about why grief is important to the creation process. We're going to talk about the upcoming Capricorn Leo moon cycle, which is the new cycle that starts on January 6th. We're going to talk about embracing the process of grief and some of the ways and reasons that we resist it. And we're going to talk about the moon phases and powers, and then also how you can go deeper with this information. All right. And so this whole idea of grief, when we got together to talk about this next moon cycle, what we were feeling like the predominant theme is, because we're going to have a new moon in Capricorn and we're going to have a full moon in Leo during this next phase. And we just talked about how, this last new moon in Capricorn, we've gone through some destruction in the sign of Capricorn. And this past year, there's been many things that have changed and fallen apart, and things don't look the same as they did. And so there's really there is kind of a feeling of collective grief. And I think that it's different for everybody, what you're going through personally. But grief is this really important process to honor. And this time of year is the perfect time to honor that process as well. And so we really wanted to kind of milk this opportunity, because the energy is going to really support it. And yeah, I don't know if did you ladies have anything you wanted to add about grief in general?
Just that it's a natural part of the life cycle. And when we create space to do it, it I always feel like you can honor the energy or the energy will come for you. So grief is one of those things. It's like you give yourself the space to do it so that it can be taken care of. It's like pay your dues to grief. And when you do that, it will deliver you to some other place. So,
It's a powerful medicine for transformation. I mean, yeah, it's a very powerful medicine for transformation.
Yeah, I feel like it is. It's an opportunity, like when, often the grief it comes from a place of a loss or a change. And for many people this year, um, we have a landscape that has changed immensely. It's changed people's jobs, people's lives. Like there's been a lot of that. And so um, we really do get to honor this cycle. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But um, just in general, like, I don't know, like any of you that are on the call just can think of things that you are grieving right now this year. Be a good thing to hold at this moment. So what we're going to be moving through in this next month um, is the Capricorn Leo moon cycle. And what that means is that our new moon is going to be in Capricorn and our full moon is going to be in Leo. And so Capricorn, the keywords that I have here about Capricorn would be integrity, self-contained, structure, systems, and cycles. Capricorn energy is serious and focused and structured. And it's also inward in a way. It's really it's um being inward and having clarity around your integrity so that how you show up in the world, like your inward and your outward match. And because we had a Saturn Pluto conjunction this year, in the beginning of the year that kicked off last January and set a lot of things in motion, this opportunity this next month with the Capricorn new moon is that, any of our stuff that we're still holding around that is going to be coming up. And what we're going to move into at the full moon is Leo energy, which is very different. Capricorn is self-contained. It doesn't care what you think of it, and Leo does. Like, Leo is the part of us that wants to shine and wants to express. And so ideally, the arc that you're going to experience during this upcoming cycle is a chance to really empty yourself out and to really grieve, to really let go, so that you can create space to express yourself. And so the question I have here is, how do I rest, grieve, and reset so that I may express my truest essence? That kind of encompasses the ride that we'll be taking in this next month. We're releasing the Capricorn melancholy and we're restoring Leo's spark.
Yay.
Yeah, and it really, these are very different energies. So I think that it's going to be an interesting cycle, really. And I think, and my feeling about it is that the deeper you go during the first half of the cycle, the higher you can go during the last half of it. That's kind of how it feels to me. Monique, do you have anything to add about the signs? And
sure. The thing that I find interesting about it is, like you were saying, the Leo energy wants to be seen and wants to shine. How it occurs for me, as I heard you say that, was that it can do that best when it has really discovered its integrity. Like when it's discovered what matters the most to it, what is most aligned, externally and internally. Like we're just having this Cancer full moon. So it's like really feeling your feelings and getting close to yourself so that you can experience the grief. And there's nothing there's nothing that gives you the creative power and the ability to really touch your heart like pain. Nothing, it's, I like to say joy is my path. I'm learning through joy, right? And that's fantastic. It's great. But the learning through pain is can really bring you a joy that is deep and wide and that doesn't falter in any circumstance, like a real joy. And that's Leo, like the sun that shines no matter what. No matter what's going on, that sun is shining. And this is what we get to cultivate in this cycle.
Yeah, I love that. It's like you know, Capricorn being Saturn ruled,
Mhm.
um Saturn energy is that it's like the wisdom and the compassion that you learn through pain. It's what you learn through time, and sometimes you learn through limitation and suffering, and you develop a deep sense of compassion. Like those are those long-term lessons, like
Yeah.
the wisdom that you can only gain through experience. And the deeper you go in that, yeah, exactly. It's like you really make space to be able to express at a level that is true for you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so why is it important to grieve? Um, what what I feel like from this context, um, I think one of the things that is huge about it is that it is a natural cycle. You
Mm.
know, we are in the time of year where things die, where leaves fall off the trees, where things decay. And there's a beauty in that.
Mhm.
Like it really does allow us to get down to the essentials of what is us. It allows us to focus inward. It allows us to strengthen our resolve and our reserve without having to worry about a lot of outward things. Like just this season in general, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere, like it really supports you in turning inwards.
Mhm.
And so being able to be with pain and grief um, is what makes space. When the leaves fall off the tree and the tree has a chance to rest, it comes back stronger. It grows new buds in the spring.
Mhm.
And I also, I always think of it too, being a creative person. I love having a blank canvas. It's hard for me sometimes to create if I have a lot of chaos around me. So I have to clear space. I have to clean things up entirely before I can have space to create. And really, like, that's what this is like. It's like flushing everything out that doesn't need to be there so that you have space. I mean, honestly, it's like really you can use the metaphor of it's why we go to the bathroom. It's why we release things from our body. Like we release what is unnecessary, what has been digested, what is not needed any longer. And so when it comes to grief, um, the way that we release it is we feel it. We have to be with it. It doesn't let go. Like it has its own timeline sometimes. And if you are really willing to lean into it, that's what moves it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm. Ashe.
Yeah,
This picture is really intense.
it
Yeah,
is.
it is.
Yeah.
And I put this one on this page. I was like, ooh.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's kind of what it feels like sometimes.
it does. I mean, I am I'm gosh, I hate to say this out loud and I forgive myself for saying all that, but I don't like nobody likes pain, but I have a thing that's inside of me. Like even as we're doing this call, there's a part of me that's like holding my breath. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. It's like but I know so well the value of it, and I still have the experience of resisting it.
Yeah. Yeah. We all do. Like
Yeah.
it, it isn't, it's a hard thing to walk through sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's easier to keep ourselves busy and focus on other things so we don't have to just be with it, because sometimes when we slow down, that's when we feel it.
God, yes, absolutely. I remember just
And
really,
yet that's also the way through.
that's right. It's when my mother died, I remember trying not to slow down. I remember saying to myself, I'll never forget this, thinking, if you stop, you'll die. So don't stop.
Mm.
Yeah.
And at some point I had to stop, and I did, because you can't run from it. You cannot run from grief.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's true. It finds you either way.
It lives
For
up your
sure.
nose. It lives up your nose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the resistance a little bit. Why do we resist it? Um, I'm really thinking about the full moon when I talk about these next themes,
Mhm.
because especially with this particular cycle, where we are the new moon in Capricorn with these themes of releasing and grief, and the full moon in Leo, which are more themes of, this is where we shine. This is where we really show up in our truest nature. And so, why do we resist this? Like, what's underneath that fear? Why do we want to hold on?
Mhm.
Um, if we hold on, we don't have to choose.
Mm.
We don't have to decide what's next. And then we don't have to fail. And sometimes it's also we don't have to succeed. Like we can be equally afraid of both, honestly.
Mm. Mhm.
I can think of a lot of times where like I think I was more afraid to succeed at something. And it's kind of that whole concept of like the devil that we know versus the devil we don't know. Sometimes we will stay with the familiar pain, the familiar thing that is uncomfortable, rather than risk the one that we don't know.
Mhm.
And that's it's a really human thing to do that. It's like, okay, well, this may suck, but at least I know what it's going to look like. I know how it sucks. I know the terrain. And, you know, what is there beyond this may suck more. And I don't know that.
Mm.
Um, the other thing that we get to protect ourselves from, and especially when we're thinking about our own creative expression, is we get to protect ourselves from criticism,
Mm.
both our own internal critic, which can be much louder than anyone else out there. But also that fear of criticism externally as well, like especially when you're putting something out there that is really like your heart, like it's like putting your baby out there.
Mhm.
Um, that feels terrifying to feel like it won't be received.
Mhm.
And it's really common that we want to protect ourselves from that.
Mhm.
Cheryl, you and I were talking about rejection, like that fear of rejection.
That's my thing. I get paused in the experience where I can move myself through the grief, I can connect back into my creativity, and I come to this halt because all of a sudden I'm gripped with that little knot of tension that I will die if I'm rejected. And that will push me all the way back in my process where I'm literally having to go back and revisit and clear more if I choose, right? It's a choice every step of the way, but for sure it's rejection, especially if my grief has been brought on by something I perceived I was responsible for. And it's overlaid, right? There's an overlay of regret or not forgiving myself. And then that then lays on the, it overlays with that fear of rejection. And so it can be paralyzing.
For sure. Like that, it's like, shame plus that fear of rejection. Like, yeah, that's heavy. It can be really heavy.
Mhm.
So Monique, does it show up for you in a similar way? Or
Mhm.
like, what does that theme look like for you?
Yes, it shows up just like what both of you said. And it's for me, I find it so like Cheryl and I have been having some conversations recently where I've been experiencing a fear of rejection. And it it snatches my tongue. Like I cannot like I don't even want to talk about it. Like like go on to the next person. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I had, I don't know if I've talked about this much in the room before, but I had a paralyzing um, case of performance anxiety for like the first 40 years of my life. Like I'm a singer and a musician, and I held myself back from so many opportunities. It's not like I didn't do it, but I would have done it way more if I didn't have that kind of anxiety. And it was really paralyzing for me. Like it really felt like I was dying. And I made a choice. Um, yeah, it was like 10 years ago. I just decided that I was going to work through this no matter what. I decided, I'm like, okay, it's no longer an excuse. Like you just have to move through this somehow. And I did. I put myself in this whole like rehab program, and I really did move through it. And what I learned through that is that first of all, the fear really only lasts for about 3 minutes. And if you can stand in it
Timed it.
for that 3 minutes, it dissolves. Like it's not real.
It's true. But man, is it compelling.
Oh my God, yeah.
To get yourself to stand in it, it literally feels like I'm going to suffocate, right? I
Yeah.
get that constriction in my throat and in my heart, and it's just like, I can't breathe. Oh my God. I distract myself with a panic attack. It's a panic attack. Naomi says that she has the same thing. Yes, right?
Yeah.
I can see that in myself too. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's intense. And and the other thing I learned about it is that the fear is there because you care, because it's important to you. I have never met someone who has a lot of these visibility fears that isn't actually meant to express themselves creatively. Like I read hands, and I see this on the hands of people who are creative, who part of their purpose is creative expression. That's why the fear is there, because it's important. So usually the level of the fear is equal to the importance and the meaning to you. And so like I can talk myself down now. Like I've learned how to do two things. I've learned how to use the energy of the fear as like to ride it, really like a wave, like to use the energy of it. And I've also learned how to like really be kind and compassionate with myself. And I talk to myself like when it happens, I'm like, look how cute you are. Like, look how much you care. That's so sweet. And it works. Like at this point, it didn't used to work. Like, but it does now. I really can just kind of talk to myself like that. Like I would a child, like, that's so sweet. Like, look how important this is to you. Like that means something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Let me slide on to this next one. So here's the questions that you want to sit with and thinking about this upcoming cycle. And some of you are already in the moon room, and so this is kind of, your preview for what we're going to be looking at. What do you need to grieve from this year? There is a lot for a lot of us. And so really like, kind of using that as some of the intentions moving into this next cycle, like what is it that really needs to go? What is it that needs some attention? What pain are you keeping at arm's length that you just need to be able to sit with and listen to?
Mm-hmm.
And then also, what new creation needs a blank canvas? Because ideally, in moving through some of the things that need to be released, you are creating yourself a blank canvas. For you to, one of my mentors used to say about creativity that it was spilling your guts on the canvas of your choice.
Hmm.
And I love that. I don't know, there's something about that image that feels really visceral to me.
Mhm.
And I love that. So what new canvas would you like to spill your guts onto this next month? So what intention will you set for this new moon cycle? So just kind of allow some of these themes to inform, or have you start thinking about what you may be working on this next moon cycle. Okay, Cheryl, I'm gonna let you talk about the moon phases a little bit.
So in the moon room, we go through 8 phases, and we're using the moon power to release and restore. We're going to get in touch with that grief. We're going to release, and then we're going to give it space to restore and become something more creative and take on a new life, because nothing dies. Energy just transforms. And so we get to transform grief into creativity in this pathway. So we'll cultivate space for 2 new creations in your life, and you get to decide. That's a personal decision that you're going to get to make. What area of your life is needing some creative love to allow you to restore yourself up to another level of creation? And you're going to learn how to manifest that through moving through the phases. Every phase of the moon cycle gives you a perspective and a tool, a way to be with the energy within yourself. Reflection of the moon. And then you're going to align yourself with those things and move through the framework to explore and align with your truth for this particular outcome in the moon phases. And we're going to support you through that process. We're going to support you through that process.
So grief makes space for inward reflection and growth. And what grief also does is it gives us a new landscape. And if we embrace it and release, it gives us the gift of space. And so the question that I would invite you to be with is, who will you be at the end of this moon cycle with the support of a sacred community? And are you ready to express on a new level and create space to be able to do that?
That makes me feel frightened right there. I heard words like that, I go, oh my gosh. Because I am so ready and petrified.
Yeah.
So we take initiates through the lunar themes all year long. This one begins on January 6th. How to join this initiation is you can join at the website. Christine, do you have it there? Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll show you that slide. Do you want to talk about just kind of what's included, and then I'll bring that other slide up that has information on how to join.
Thank you so much. So
yeah.
What's included for when you join and participate in this group and in the community to do the work is we have a live Facebook group. We have daily guidance and live videos. We also offer the elemental rituals for each phase that really allows you to work with it's not just an intellectual process. It's also an internal process that includes your relationship to the environment, which the rituals allow you to harness that energy. Access to 3 coaches, myself, Christine, and Cheryl. The Moon Manifestation Library, which gives you many, many, many videos to help you really understand how each phase works. Chants, rituals that can really help you harness and learn how to work the system on your own. Accountability exercises. Christine offers a monthly astrological call where she breaks down the astrology for each personally so that we can understand astrology. That's a really significant component of this work, that we are working with the astrological energy. So we really are always going downstream, even though it feels like we're going upstream, because when we're working with the energy, it's supporting us. And Cheryl offers a full moon call, full moon manifestation, and I do a planting moon call each month. And then we also have emails which to help you focus during the lunar phases and changes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, so here's the information about how to join.
Yes. So if you'd like to join today, the first month is $67, so that's $30 off. This is a subscription, but you can you don't have to sign up for the entire month. You can just sign up 1 month at a time, and you can stay for this. It's up to you. Like, nobody's we want you here, and we want you to be here because you desire to be here. How about that? I guess that's a nice way to say it, right? And so the code for this month is 13 Moons 2021. And the link here is bit.ly/13 Moons. And you can join today. And for the next cycle starts on January 6th. So between now and January 6th, you can join at the $67 rate for the first month. And that's it. Anything else, ladies?
If anyone has any questions, feel free. You can take yourself off mute, or you can type into the chat if you do have any questions.
I just had a comment, I guess, sort of. When you all were talking about grief, I think earlier you said something about the collective grief. And then we went into our individual grief. So I feel like I've been struggling with both all year. Of course, the collective grief with everything that's going on, and then different types of losses in my personal life. So I was really interested to see what the forecast was for this month regarding that. So that's why I wanted to peep in on this. So it's a lot of good information on that too. And I do still feel kind of scared about letting it loose, but
Yeah.
I've had some kind of anxiety attack moments this year where my body was like, we're gonna let loose right now. You're about to explode and just deal with it. But I feel like if maybe there's something I can do to stop it from coming out like that, and work more on working with the grief as it's there, as it's happening. I feel like I'm in the phase, since it's been at the end of the year, where I'm trying to intellectualize it more, because it's not so emotional, lately. So that's kind of where I am with it. But this is really good info. So
Yeah, and and this is the perfect cycle to work on that, really. Like the energy, like even just the season that we're in with the sun, like it's so supportive of this kind of release. It can help you actually, like the Capricorn energy, it really does help you turn inwards. And it also, like, Capricorn, there's a melancholy, like it's ruled by Saturn. Like that is the energy that comes up during the season. It's why a lot of times, like, what people experience as seasonal depression is really just this phase. Like, this is a natural phase. And what we experience is resisting it.
Yeah.
Like, it's the resistance that's uncomfortable, not the actual embracing of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the moon cycle, is the phases. It tells us, it gives us the information on how we need to focus, because our body, our nervous systems, our subconscious mind, all of that is following the energy of the moon. It's our mind that gets us distracted from what's naturally happening. So the moon literally brings us into focus, and then we can help what's naturally happening in the cycle of things energetically. We have the opportunity to look at ourselves and say, oh, this is what's happening, and dive deep into each phase of the moon cycle. And when we do our work, we're helping the collective. When we dive in and heal our own nervous systems and make changes in our subconscious mind, that ripples into our homes, into the community, and into the world. So it begins here with us, and the moon helps us to have the right focus so that we can. There's an appropriate time during the phase of the cycle of the moon where letting loose is absolutely necessary. And we do it in a very contained way where that energy just gets to release itself. And it's positive. It's a very positive part of the process.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, if no one else has a question, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Happy New Year for the Western calendar, which is so fantastic. And happy holidays. And so we'll be together again soon. Thank you, Cheryl and Christine, and thank you for everyone who's here with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
joining.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.